Hi friends, good evening. Welcome to Digital Problem. I am Vinod. Today we are going to learn about OS and we will learn about why we will use Linux in IT environment. So let's start today's session. What is OS? As we all know that we are user and we give a request to hardware, okay, and we give an input to hardware. So hardware don't know user interface language. So hardware will tell, I don't know what you're saying. To simplify this conflict, OS helps us. OS uses as an interface between user and hardware. OS knows what is user language and hardware language. So once we give an input to OS, it gives an input to hardware in machine learning, machine language, like in binary code, zeros and ones. Then hardware gives an output to OS in zeros and one, and OS gives us output in user language. So what OS are available in market in present days? First, Windows. We all know Windows. It is developed by Microsoft. Next, OS X, Mac OS. IBM-AIX, owned by IBM. HP-UX, Solaris, and coming to Linux. In Linux, there are various flavors like RedHat, Ubuntu, Fedora, SUSE, Debian, CentOS. These are the widely used in market. So today we will learn about Linux and its flavors. Why? Why we will use Linux? So there are many advantages for Linux, like security. The the features of Linux is main reason that most favorable developers use this OS as a base. So it is not completely safe, but it is less vulnerable than others. Each application needs to authorize by the admin user. This is the main feature of Linux. Second, coming to open source. Certainly, the certainly the big advantage of Linux. Sorry, just a minute. Certainly, the big advantage of Linux it is an open source, and it is most favorable OS for developers. Okay, we can easily download it and there is no need to buy the license for it. And third, lightweight. Linux is very lightweight compared to other OS. The requirements of Linux are much less than other operating systems. This is the main feature of the Linux as a lightweight. Okay, like the minimum requirement to install the Linux OS is to use like 128 MB of RAM. This is the very less RAM for the OS. Coming to next, stability. Linux is more stable than other OS. Linux does not require to reboot the system to maintain performance levels. Next, performance. Personally, this is my favorite feature of Linux. Linux system provides high performance over compared to different networks. It is capable of handling a large number of users simultaneously. Next, flexibility. Linux OS is very flexible. It can be used for desktop applications, embedded systems, and server applications too. Linux used by almost all developers as a server OS. Coming to next, software updates. Like software updates, like software updates are usual. We can select the required updates. There are large number of system updates are available. Coming to Linux OS updates, like users control their updates and all. Next, distributions. There are many flavors of Linux available in market. It provides various options and various flavors like Ubuntu, Fedora, Debian, Linux, Mint, Arch Linux, and many more. There are almost 200 plus flavors in Linux. Next, coming to GUI. Linux is mainly used as a command line, but it provides an interactive user interface like Windows. Next, suitable for programmers. It supports almost all the most used programming languages to develop applications like C, C++, Java, Python, Ruby, and more. The programmers prefer the Linux terminal over the Windows command line. The package manager of Linux system helps programmers to understand how things are done. Next, coming to community supports. As Linux has a 200 plus flavors, it contains community support also. Linux has large community supports. We can find various subsources. There are many forums and available in the web to assist users. And next, coming to privacy. Linux always take care of user privacy. It takes very less user information compared to other OSs. Next, networking. Linux facilities with powerful support for networking. The client server systems can be easily set to Linux. It provides various command line tools such as SSH, IP, mail, telnet. And coming to next, installation. Like installation of Linux process takes very less time compared to other OS like Windows or Mac OS like that. Further, its installation process is much easy as it requires very less input and it does not require much more system configurations. Even it can be easily installed on old machines having less configuration, less storage, less RAM. Coming to next point, multitasking. It also called as a multitasking OS, as it can run multiple tasks simultaneously without affecting the system speed or CPU usage or storage. And last one, heavily documented for beginners. As I mentioned before, it supports very huge community support in web as a forums and blogs. Coming to next, how to get Linux system. There are various ways to install this Linux in our laptop or desktop or any other system. Like first point, like install Linux directly to our laptop or desktop. Second, we can use VMware to create virtual machine. We will talk later for virtual machines. Third point, we can use VirtualBox. As similar to VMware, we can use VirtualBox to create a VM of Linux. Fourth, we can use like Linux VM on cloud like AWS, Azure, GSP. In this session, we will learn and we will use this cloud-based Linux VM as we will use AWS. Thank you for this session, guys. In next session, we will learn about basic day-to-day commands of Linux, like creating a user, maintaining the user, and managing the user, and copying the files and file management, network interface, and all. Thank you. Thank you.